For years, the future direction of the Catholic Church has been a subject of intense discussion around the world. Behind the ancient walls of the Vatican, questions about leadership, reform, tradition, and the next generation of voices shaping Catholicism have continued to grow. Among the names frequently mentioned in conversations about the future of the Church is Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines, a figure whose journey from Manila to one of the highest positions within the Vatican has captured global attention. Many observers have described Cardinal Tagle as a symbol of a changing church, one that focuses more strongly on compassion, dialogue, and reaching communities on the margins of society. His close relationship with Pope Francis has only increased speculation about his influence and the role he may play in shaping Catholicism in the years ahead. But what is the true story behind the connection between Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle? Why has the Filipino cardinal become such an important figure? And what does his rise reveal about the possible future direction of the Catholic Church? The relationship between Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle has often been described as one built on shared priorities and a similar vision for the role of the Church in the modern world. When Pope Francis began his papacy, he repeatedly emphasized the importance of a church that goes beyond its institutions and reaches people facing poverty, suffering, and isolation. He called for greater attention toward those living on the edges of society. In many ways, Cardinal Tagle represented a similar approach long before becoming a major Vatican figure. Born in Manila, Philippines, in 1957, Luis Antonio Tagle developed a reputation as a pastor deeply connected with ordinary people. His communication style, humility, and ability to explain complex religious ideas in simple ways helped him gain widespread respect among many Catholics. Before becoming a cardinal, Tagle served as Archbishop of Manila, one of the most influential Catholic communities in Asia. During his time there, he became known for emphasizing service, compassion, and a personal connection between church leaders and the faithful. His supporters saw him as a new kind of church leader, someone who focused not only on doctrine and tradition but also on understanding the everyday struggles of ordinary families. This approach closely reflected Pope Francis's message that church leaders must be present among the people rather than separated from them. A major turning point came when Pope Francis appointed Cardinal Tagle to a powerful Vatican position in 2019. He was chosen to lead the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, one of the most important offices responsible for Catholic missionary activity around the world. The appointment immediately attracted attention. For centuries, the Catholic Church's leadership has often been associated with Europe. Tagle's rise represented the growing importance of Asia, Africa, and other regions where Catholic communities have continued to expand. His appointment was viewed by many analysts as recognition that the future of Catholicism would increasingly involve voices from outside the traditional centers of church power. But Cardinal Tagle's influence did not come only from his official positions. Many supporters point to his personal style of leadership as the reason he became such a respected figure. He has often spoken about listening as a central part of leadership. Instead of viewing authority only as a position of command, Tagle has emphasized conversation, understanding, and building relationships. This approach has attracted admiration from Catholics who believe the Church must adapt to a rapidly changing world. However, like many influential figures within a major global institution, Cardinal Tagle has also faced criticism. Some traditionalist voices have expressed concerns that a stronger focus on social issues and dialogue could weaken attention toward established teachings and traditions. The debate surrounding Tagle reflects a much larger discussion happening within the Catholic Church itself. What kind of church should exist in the modern era? Should the priority be preserving long-standing traditions, or should the Church focus more heavily on responding to new global challenges? Supporters of Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle argue that compassion and tradition are not opposites. They believe the Church can maintain its spiritual foundation while becoming more engaged with the problems facing humanity today. This philosophy became especially visible through Tagle's work with humanitarian efforts and his involvement in global Catholic organizations. As president of Caritas Internationalis, a worldwide Catholic humanitarian network, Tagle worked with efforts addressing poverty, hunger, and humanitarian crises. His supporters viewed these activities as an extension of the Church's mission, serving people in need regardless of their background. This global experience also strengthened his reputation as someone capable of communicating across cultures. The Catholic Church today faces a complicated reality. While some traditional Catholic regions have experienced declining numbers, Catholic communities in parts of Asia and Africa have grown significantly. Because Cardinal Tagle comes from the Philippines, a country with one of the largest Catholic populations in Asia, many observers believe his perspective represents the changing demographics of the Church. His supporters argue that a leader from Asia could bring a new understanding of Catholicism in a more diverse world. However, speculation about the future of the papacy is always complex. Although Cardinal Tagle is frequently discussed by commentators as a possible future candidate for pope, no individual can predict the outcome of a future conclave. The decision ultimately belongs to the College of Cardinals, and many factors influence such a historic choice. Still, the attention surrounding Tagle demonstrates how much the Catholic Church is changing. The discussion is not only about one person. It is about competing visions for the future. One vision emphasizes continuity, tradition, and maintaining established structures. Another emphasizes reform, outreach, and adapting to the realities of the modern world. Cardinal Tagle has become one of the most visible representatives of the second approach. His supporters see him as a bridge between tradition and change, a leader who respects the history of the Church while seeking new ways to connect with younger generations and communities around the world. As Pope Francis continued his efforts to reshape certain aspects of Vatican leadership, figures like Cardinal Tagle became increasingly important in conversations about what comes next. The question is not simply whether Cardinal Tagle could rise higher within the Church. The deeper question is what kind of Catholic Church future generations will inherit. Will it be a church focused primarily on preserving the past, or one that seeks new methods to share its message in a changing world? The answer may depend on leaders who can balance both responsibilities. And that is why Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle remains one of the most closely watched figures in modern Catholicism. His journey from Manila to the Vatican represents more than personal success. It reflects the changing face of a global church searching for its next chapter. But behind the public image of unity and faith, important debates continue inside the Vatican about leadership, reform, and the direction of Catholicism. Behind the impressive ceremonies, ancient traditions, and public appearances of the Vatican exists a complex world of decisions, alliances, and different visions for the future of the Catholic Church. The discussion surrounding Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle is not only about one man. It represents a larger debate about what direction the Church should take in the coming decades. For many supporters, Tagle represents a new generation of leadership, one focused on communication, mercy, and reaching people who feel disconnected from religious institutions. For others, the question is whether this approach can successfully balance modern challenges with the responsibility of protecting centuries of Catholic tradition. This tension between reform and tradition has existed throughout church history. But under Pope Francis, these conversations became especially visible. Since the beginning of his papacy, Francis has encouraged a different style of leadership. He has spoken against excessive focus on power and has called for a church that serves rather than simply governs. Cardinal Tagle's leadership style closely matches this message. His supporters often describe him as a pastor first, someone who emphasizes personal connection over formal authority. But within any global institution as large as the Catholic Church, changes rarely happen without disagreement. Some critics worry that rapid reforms could create divisions among Catholics who value continuity and established teachings. Others argue that without adaptation, the Church risks becoming distant from the realities faced by millions of people around the world. This debate has made Cardinal Tagle an important figure in conversations about the future of Catholic leadership. One of the biggest questions surrounding Tagle is whether his experience and popularity could eventually place him among those considered for the papacy. Although speculation about future popes is common, the process remains unpredictable. A conclave involves hundreds of factors, including theological perspectives, regional representation, leadership experience, and the needs of the Church at that moment. Still, Tagle's international background gives him a unique position. A Filipino cardinal representing a rapidly growing Catholic region would reflect the changing global nature of the Church. For centuries, European influence dominated Vatican leadership. But as Catholic populations have expanded across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, voices from these regions have gained greater importance. Tagle supporters believe this shift could represent a historic opportunity. They argue that a leader from the global South could bring new perspectives and a deeper understanding of the challenges faced by developing communities. However, Cardinal Tagle would not be the only possible figure discussed in future leadership conversations. Another frequently mentioned figure is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State. Unlike Tagle, whose reputation is strongly connected with pastoral work and evangelization, Parolin is known for his extensive diplomatic experience and knowledge of Vatican administration. The contrast between these two figures represents two different styles of leadership. Tagle is often associated with outreach, social engagement, and a more pastoral approach. Parolin is associated with diplomacy, institutional experience, and managing the complex political relationships of the Vatican. The discussion between these different approaches reflects a fundamental question facing the Church. Should the next era of Catholic leadership focus primarily on internal stability and tradition, or should it prioritize broader reform and global outreach? There is no simple answer. The Catholic Church is both a spiritual institution and a global organization with more than 1 billion members. Its leader must address questions of faith, politics, culture, humanitarian issues, and international relations. This is why the qualities of future leaders will be carefully examined. Cardinal Tagle's supporters point to his ability to communicate with different cultures as one of his greatest strengths. In an increasingly divided world, they believe his emphasis on listening and dialogue could help create greater unity. His critics, however, question whether a leadership style focused heavily on dialogue can address every challenge facing the Church. These disagreements reveal the difficult balance required of any future pope. The leader of the Catholic Church must preserve a long historical tradition while also responding to a rapidly changing world. Cardinal Tagle's story also highlights the growing importance of Asia in Catholicism. The Philippines has long been one of the strongest Catholic nations in Asia, and its religious influence continues to grow. A leader from this region could symbolize a major transformation in the global identity of the Church. But history has shown that popularity alone does not determine leadership. The future of the Catholic Church will ultimately depend on decisions made by church leaders, the priorities of future generations, and the challenges facing the faithful around the world. Whether Cardinal Tagle reaches the highest position in the Church or continues serving in his current role, his influence is already significant. His journey represents a changing Catholic landscape, one where voices from different continents are becoming increasingly important. The story of Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle is not simply about ambition or position. It is about a broader question: how can an ancient institution remain meaningful in a modern world? The answer will shape the Catholic Church for generations. As debates continue about reform, tradition, and leadership, Cardinal Tagle remains one of the most fascinating figures to watch. His supporters see him as a possible symbol of renewal. His critics see him as part of a larger transformation that deserves careful examination. But regardless of where people stand, one thing is clear. The future of the Catholic Church will be shaped by leaders who can navigate both history and change. And Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's remarkable journey from Manila to the Vatican has placed him at the center of that historic conversation. As the Church moves forward, the world will continue watching the choices made inside the Vatican, choices that could influence more than 1 billion Catholics across the globe. The next chapter of Catholic history has not yet been written, but figures like Cardinal Tagle may play a major role in determining what that chapter will look like.